In the years following the Civil War, folks had to start over from nothing. The war devastated the South. Entire towns were literally wiped off the map. Farms left in ashes, livestock stolen or killed to feed the army of soldiers. Folks literally had nothing. The only money they could get was from the fall cotton that was ginned and then sold. There was a problem, a very big problem. To grow cotton, you had to have seed, fertilizer, and everything else involved in growing it. If you had no money for seed or supplies, there would be no cotton. Mountain folk would often head to town and get a note on their place for money to grow the cotton. The idea was to borrow the money till fall. They would get just enough to grow the cotton and sell it and then pay off the note and keep the rest for whatever they needed. This would work well, except for one thing. Powerful merchants and planters controlled the price of the cotton. So in spring, the price would be way up in value. But somehow, as if by magic, the price would fall way down in value at harvesting time. The farmer wouldn't even break even to pay off the notes. When the bank come calling for their payment, they couldn't pay. The bank would have to sell the place to recoup their money. They would take everything down to Ma's rocking chair, leaving families homeless and destitute. Folks grew angry over this. In the community of Mitcham Beat, Alabama, and Chilton County, tensions would get to the point all hell broke loose, and the following violence and chaos became known as the Mitcham Beat War. Why the Mitcham Beat community, and what really set this mess into action anyways? Appalachia, the mountains, are like no other. From its rigid terrain, beautiful wildlife, to the people that live their lives here, to the strange, unexplained stories that folks share. Join me while I share this amazing place, one story at a time. This mess starts in 1890 in the Mitcham Beat community, following a number of farms being sold due to unpaid debts. Some hot-headed sons of the farmers were tired of seeing so many families suffer from this crazy system. They formed a secret society named Hell at the Breach. They confronted the political party that controls the economy. Late 1890, early 1891, the Hell at the Breach gang killed their first man. The first man was a white man who openly opposed them and their violence. The second was a black miller. They killed him just for his money. Only a few boys were a part of this gang, but the whole community were at attention after the killings. What really set this mess into action? Well, in 1892, the governor was up for election. The farmers sided with the Farmer Allegiance third-party member, Reuben Cole. He would put a stop to all this mischief going on with the crop prices. The Democratic Party, well, they were powerful merchants and planters, and they did not like this. So they would somehow make sure their party would win, to which it did. This set the Hell at the Breach gang on fire. December 25th, 1892, the Hell at the Breach gang headed to Coffeeville to settle a score of sorts. See, they tell that a merchant leader foreclosed on a property even though the lien was paid. They went to the leader's home and killed him dead. 500 riders formed a vigilante mob, and they went looking for the boys, aiming to perform justice for their actions. The group would kill 2 men identified as the killers, 3 more that were told to be involved. Before the mess was all said and done, 10 folks would die at the hands of the gang, the vigilantes, and even the residents of the town. The Mitcham Beat folks welcomed the gang, but soon regretted this. The boys terrorized them. The folks against the boys' actions were often tortured, and their homes were looted. The boys would even threaten innocent children. This would go on until 1893, when the leaders of the Hell at the Breach gang realized this was getting out of control and ordered the gang be disbanded. The final killing in the Mitcham Beat War was a strange detective named Pinkerton, unrelated to the Pinkertons detective agency. The man gave vigilantes the information on who was involved with the killing and the torturing and the looting. He would move into Mitcham Beat and then bully the citizens. The folks who were against the boys, the gang, and the vigilantes hired a gunman to assassinate Pinkerton. November the 27th, 1894, Pinkerton was shot in his own field. He was taken to his home where he would die 2 days later from his wounds. 3 men were charged with the Pinkerton's death, but all were never convicted. The war was finally over. It brought fear and shame to both parties involved in this mess. It was not talked about from then on, a piece of history folks would hope be forgotten. In 1981, the Clark County Historical Society had a monument built and placed it along the side of the road where Mitcham Beat community once stood to remember this terrible, terrible time in our history. Folks, I want to thank you for sitting and listening to the history of the Mitcham Beat War. Well, I appreciate you listening. I love you to pieces. And I'll see you next time.